probably the best thing I've done all of Preptober. Hey writers, I just wanted to let you know how I'm finishing up for NaNoWriMo. So far you have seen me this month outline using StoryGrid, using Abby Emmons, using all sorts of different things. I outlined like R.L. Stine. I've done all that. But I had to put it all together. That is a lot of stuff to put together. And a lot of people talk about a novel Bible. And I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do something a little bit differently because I don't want to be referencing a notebook all the time. I want it right there in front of my face, but I also don't want a messy office. So I'm going to show you how I did that using all the stuff I've put together so far. I'm going to put it together for you. And this is how I did it. First of all, I took that story grid outline. Remember I did that? If you haven't seen that, I'll link the video there. But once you watch that, come back and watch this because that is great. It's a great tool. But what I don't like about it is that every time I want to reference it, I'm going to have to close my writing dock and I'm going to have to go and look at that screen. Or if I want to write somewhere else, if I want to write out in this beautiful countryside here, which I do, I definitely want to do that. I am so tired of being indoors. For those of you in North America, you're finishing up summer. Summer's just starting here. It is spring, it is gorgeous, and it is not raining, and I'm extremely excited. I want to go write in cafes. I want different places. I want to write on a train, and we're going to do that in November, and it's going to be so cool. But I don't want to drag with me my entire laptop with a spreadsheet. I don't want to do that. What am I going to do? Well, again, a notebook. A notebook's a good idea. We talked about the novel Bible, which is a really great tool. But again, it's a lot of lugging around. I don't want to lug stuff around. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to put them on scene cards. I pulled out of my Patreon account, so they're available for you there if you want to download them. Now, I downloaded them and printed them in black and white, partially because I forgot to use the color to set it to color ink when I printed it, and partially I've realized it's a really great tool. Hi, Annie. You want to say hi? So I can color in when I'm thinking. This way I don't fall down a rabbit hole because it is very easy to pop into social media when I'm stuck. So coloring on those little sheets of paper definitely helped me stay on track, but it still took me a long time. I also found that this was a great way to review the scenes that I had done. I realized some of them were incomplete, some of them were out of order, and some of them didn't need to be in any particular order, and some of them I wanted to split up. So I was able to do that by going through them again using these cards. Oop. Hello guys. Good morning. How you going? Oh, you getting your horns? Hi guys. The crisis, the climax, and the resolution of the beginning hook. I had only written one scene, and this is a huge problem for me. I always rush the ending, and I write the crisis, the climax, and the resolution all in one scene, rather than making these three separate scenes. So I was able to go in and do that, and I realized that my protagonist was inactive, and I didn't like that either. I wanted her to be a more active protagonist. So I realized that I needed to figure out what she would do, how she would react to quote-unquote Cinderella, because it's a Cinderella story, so this is the first time Cinderella runs out of the ball, so to speak, because it's not a ball, but I digress. And how she was going to react to this, and I wasn't sure. So that's when I went back to that character profile that we looked at last time. The character write-up and how I outlined my character like many different authors and used every single character profile I could find. This has been helpful so far. Like this video, that helps it get around to more people, and that helps me so much. When I sat down and I thought about what she would do, and I hadn't yet, to be honest, but I went and took the personality test there. Now I used the Enneagram one. You can use Myers-Briggs. Doesn't matter, you can use none. But I sat down and I did that. And I took the test for her. And when I take a test as a character, I like to be extreme. When I take it for myself, I might be like neutral or somewhere in the middle. I try really hard to go way to one side or way to the other side. This way, the characters are very extreme. And when I did that, I realized that she was very strong in 3 and 4 and 8. After I took the test, the personality test, I realized that a lot of the information that I wanted was not available without paying. And because I love you guys, I did a little Googling and I found the information. And so I've updated the character questionnaire roundup. So this is a document where I have rounded up the best of the best that I have found. You saw that video where I outlined like a whole bunch of different characters. I did a whole bunch of different character outlines. I tried that out. You haven't seen that yet. That's coming. That's coming. You haven't seen that yet. But I did that and I posted the character, all the best character roundups in that video. And it are in that document, and it was great. But now I've updated it, so it's only been up for a week or so, but I've updated it with the Enneagram cheat sheet that will tell you all the different areas of the Enneagram that you need for your characters, their fears, their desires, that sort of thing. And it also gives you a note page where you can color in the circle graph, which helped me because at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter if you follow the Enneagram exactly, because you're doing your character, right? You can do what you like. You don't have to do it that way. So it's your character, it's your story. Do you, boo, as I like to say. I decided to make her 3. I felt like 3s were a really great match for her, especially in the goal area. And I felt like that was where I wanted, and the fear area, the goal and the fear. And so how does a 3 react when they are challenged or they're negative? Because at the end of the bidding hook, she's not her best self. So I wanted to see how she would react, and how she would react is by backstabbing. So I know we don't like to make our characters do nasty things, but she's gonna stab her in the back. Not literally with a knife, but figuratively. She is going to cross over from just sort of not clarifying things to actually actively being deceptive. And I wouldn't have found this if I hadn't gone through my outline again and revisited it. So I thought this was a really useful, it's probably the best thing I've done all of Preptober was do this. And I am just so happy that I did it. I've never done this before, to be honest. I always kind of get to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm happy with my outline, and then I don't do anything else and I just leave it. But the fact that I've revisited my outline and I thought of it again after some time has passed, I feel like that has been just invaluable. So now I've got all these cards. What am I going to do with them? Well, I happen to have a bulletin board in my office, and so I cleared it off, and while I was at it, I cleaned my office. I think it's a really good idea. I don't know about you, but even though I plan to write outside, write on a train, write in a cafe, even though I plan to go out and write, I know I'm going to write in my office sometimes, and I want that space to be as clean and neat and tidy as possible. And so there's no distractions, because I just like a clean space. I feel clean when my space is clean. So I've tidied all that up. It didn't take that long, and I ran a little challenge with my daughter. We had a competition. If she could clean her room before I cleaned my office, then I would have to vacuum her room. If I got my office clean first, then she would have to vacuum my office, plus our own spaces. Well, she won, so I had to vacuum. But it meant that her room's clean and my room's clean. So little parenting trick there. I don't know if your child loves this. My child loves a competition and she loves to win stuff. So the idea that she could get out of vacuuming her room if she got it clean before I got my office clean was really quite useful and great. And we also cleaned the bathroom together, which was nice. But once that was done and everybody was in bed and everything was sorted, I decided I would put all of these scene cards up on my bulletin board. Now, I kind of wish now I had printed them in color, because it looks a little gray, because I didn't have to do that much coloring in. And so I'm kind of sad that they're not in color. So I think next time I'll just go ahead and color them. And maybe I'll put a little, maybe next year's scene cards, I'll put little like a coloring in space or something so that they're not solid color, because I like that, but I do wish there was a little bit of color in them. So let me know in the comments what you think about that, especially if you're in the Patreon account and you are downloading these. Let me know how I can improve them. So what have we done so far? We have re-looked at the outline by transferring the story grid spreadsheet or note cards or whatever you are onto the scene cards. Check. We have numbered those scene cards. That's important. Numbering the scene cards is hugely important. Check. We have cleaned up the office. Check. And now I'm going to put them all on my board. Now I'm overlapping them, and that's okay. I'm okay with that because, like I said, some of these little ones especially will be movable. So some of them I've even like stuck together a little bit because I'm like, this could go before that, or that could be, it kind of depends on what I do at the time. But what I'm going to be able to do now, this is the key thing. This is why this is so much better than a notebook or a spreadsheet or a Google Document or Scrivener or any of those things. Because I can take those little scene cards. I can take 2 at a time because I've got 60, so I know I only have to write 2 scenes a day to hit my goal for NaNoWriMo. If I do 2 scenes a day, if I grab 2 scene cards, I can take 2 scene cards, I can go out in the backyard, I can go out to the cafe, I can go on a train. Probably take more on the train. I think I can write more than 2 scenes on an 8-hour train ride. But I can do all that. And I can do it relatively easy. I just stick them up, fit in my phone. Fold them up and stick them in my phone case. Done. Easy. I'm sorry, Annie. I just stepped on Annie. You mad at me? Hey, Annie. Hi. I'm super excited for November now. It's so great. I'm excited for this story. And it's going to be such a different thing for me because it's not a fantasy. It's technically a romance. And these are things that I've never written before. A real world story and a romance, not an action adventure. So I'm really excited to give it a go. I want to hear all about yours too, especially if you're in the Patreon. So drop in there. You can join the Facebook group. Remember, the first 100 patrons get the second tier for the price of the first tier for the life of their patron access. So I really appreciate you guys. Hit that subscribe button. I love you. Thank you. Keep writing.